What's up, everybody? Another edition of The Dumbest Timeline. I say it every week, and this week we continue the voyage into trying to find a better world, a better path, a better place. And this week, our guest KoKo is here with what I think is possibly one of the most defining things that makes us know we're in the dumbest timeline. And I know a good number of my friends are going to be upset about this subject, but we're going to take it down anyways. KoKo,
Hello,
you
I'm
doing?
very excited to take this down. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Oh, thank you. Can you introduce the subject this week?
So this week we are talking about the glorification of the Kardashians in our modern times and
Yes.
how it's destroyed the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things that when we talk, we joke about how if the aliens came to Earth and looked at us, what are some of the things that they would see and be like, "What's wrong with these people?" And I really, truly believe, first of all, the glorification of celebrity culture in of itself is probably going to be like, "This is really weird." But then when you take something like the Kardashian family, which we found this. If you guys are listening to this as a podcast, I'm going to read it to you right now. But if you are watching this, you'll see it on the screen with us. The Kardashian effect. When someone becomes, despite or lack of, oh, sorry, let me restart. When someone becomes, despite or because of a lack of skill, talent, or ability, usually the result of a sex tape or an Instagram account filled with selfies. Named for Kim Kardashian, who is by no means the first person to achieve fame this way, but certainly one of the most infamous. And I gotta
Yeah.
say, it's not wrong, folks. Not wrong.
I love the is it lack of talent and skill? That's my
Yeah,
favorite part of that.
and not to say that Kim hasn't moved on to have more skills and talents as she became famous, but when she initially started, as far as I knew, she was doing closets for her friends, which is not something that usually gains a lot of recognition or fame. I don't know, like I know Marie Kondo's out there, but that's a very specific type of fame to be such a good organizer that someone gives you a show. And I don't think that's where Kim was at that time. And I think we're being fair when we say that the sex tape was where we saw a huge steep in her, trending as I think we would say. Just
For sure.
I'm
Following in her mate Paris's footsteps, obviously.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. I'm giving a lot of disclaimers because I really know a lot of people who are gonna be down my throat for this one. Like I already could expect a lot of messages from friends who are gonna be like, "How could you go after Kim?" And it's just like, because guys,
'Cause they're wrong.
yeah.
'Cause they've been fooled just like everybody else into thinking that
Right.
she has skills and she has talent and she's made herself a mogul, blah, blah, blah. I'm over
Yeah.
it. So over it.
How do you feel about the for because you picked the subject. So what exactly is your sense of the Kardashian family?
Okay, well, I guess, start from the very beginning. Reality TV shows, I can't say I don't watch them. I kinda love them.
Mm.
We all loved watching the Osbournes when they first came out,
Oh, yeah.
It was, like, sort of an iconic MTV show. So when the Kardashians came out, yeah, I watched, like, the first season or 2. I was like, "Oh, whatever, an annoying family that will be kind of entertaining to watch, sort of funny." But then in preparation for this, because I haven't watched their show in years because I can't stand them, and then
Right.
in preparation, I watched, like, the newest season that's out at the moment,
Yeah,
and
because they just moved, right, to at least in North
Disney, yeah.
America, they moved over to Hulu from, I think they used to be on Bravo? TLC?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
one
so
of
now
those.
it's just the Kardashians or something instead of
Yeah,
keeping up
yeah.
with. Yep, and yeah, and I thought, I'll give them a chance. I'll, like,
Okay,
start
fair.
with fresh eyes and watch this new season and see what they're up to now. Maybe they've, like, developed personally and they're doing good things and stuff, and no. I felt dumber after watching it. I legitimately felt stupider,
Oh,
and
wow.
the whole entire show, they're, like, really emotional, and they're really trying to make you feel sorry for them. The whole
Oh.
entire time, they're just trying to, like, squeeze empathy out of you for them, and I'm like,
Oh, interesting.
"I don't feel sorry for you, you're
Right.
billionaires."
Yeah! Y
Um, you're choosing to show this on TV, like, it was really weird. I was like, "Why are you trying to make me feel sorry for you?"
I th
But
I think one of the best examples of that, and I think you're hitting a really solid point, is when oh god, and this is where I'm really gonna start probably really ticking people off because
Do
I
it.
don't know which one's which, but Kylie is Kylie the
The worst one, yeah.
Kylie's the one that was a billionaire or wasn't a billionaire, and then her fans found out she was close to being a billionaire, and then they tried to start a GoFundMe or something to raise the money to help her cross over the billionaire status, the billionaire line.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like that and, again, but in this example, at least, it's not like Kylie asked people to make her a billionaire, but I think if anything, there was that sense of, well, there's everyone else in the family's kind of has, quote unquote, a glow up and is doing really well, and she feels left out. And then there was this sense of like empathy for her, which is what you were talking about, where because the show does such a good job of or at least it tries to do a good job. I don't know that it does because I feel like a lot of people I know don't actually feel empathy for them, just kind of watch a show and tend to laugh at them, but still become obsessed with them. But they try and create this sense of empathy so that something like, oh no, the poor non billionaire isn't there yet. So we have to work hard to make sure she feels like the rest of the family. And that to me is that is some
And
interesting BS.
that's how much they've fooled us into thinking that they are worth our time. You know what I mean? Like, this young girl, Kylie, who, you know, no discredit to people who want to have plastic surgery and stuff, but she
Right.
completely changed her entire face.
Right.
Like, she restructured her jaw, she did everything. She doesn't even look like the same person when you look at her old photos.
Yeah, I've seen.
It's not her. And
Yeah.
that's, like, a really bad example to young girls who, might not be quite happy with themselves, but can't afford to have, like, thousands of dollars of plastic surgery
Right.
to look like this girl. So it's just a really unrealistic and bad example for young girls these days, I feel.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think and people say Courtney, or at least they make statements that Courtney has also had a lot of plastic surgery. Uh,
Chloe has.
Chloe, sorry.
Yeah, she has plastic
Okay.
surgery, the O.J. Simpson out of her face. Because that girl
Well,
is definitely O.J. Simpson's daughter, and she does not look like it anymore.
that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I've seen photoshopped I've seen pictures that people leaked of before they had their all the Photoshop and the touch-ups done, and the befores and afters, and I always find it fascinating because, like you're saying, celebrity culture is such a thing. And again, like even like the description in Urban Dictionary says about the Kardashian effect and the reference to Kim wasn't the first to do this, just the most infamous to do it. So we have had this continuous idea of beauty that has changed. Some people, weirdly enough, and I don't agree with it, but some people say the Kardashians are the reason that curvier bodies have become more acceptable. I don't know that they did that. I think if anything, an entire huge movement of people accepting their bodies and a lot more conversations in the zeitgeist about body positivity led to that.
Except
Oh,
that their
except okay.
bodies aren't real.
That's
They've
the
added their big asses. They're not
yeah,
real. So,
yeah, yeah,
like, that's also once again giving girls this bad example of, like, you need to add a big ass on yourself, and they
right,
obviously can't spend thousands of dollars doing that.
right.
So they probably use unhealthy methods that Kim herself has, like, propped up saying, "Oh, I lost this much weight for Marilyn, blah, blah, blah," the Marilyn dress that she wore to the
Oh,
Met
yeah,
Gala. Like, talking about how she didn't eat and stuff. Are you serious? Are
yeah,
you in this time and age where, body positivity and healthy eating habits are really important for young girls,
right.
she's talking about how she hasn't eaten for days to fit into a dress. Like, that's
That
just
no
stupid.
and a dress that no one wanted her to wear, a dress that
She damaged.
damaged and wore purely because and that's another example of and it's kind of this crazy tier of celebrity fandom because it's like fans watching her be obsessed with the idea of like classic traditional Hollywood beauty that was Marilyn, and her deciding I want to attain that level even though I'm now the icon of this level. And I remember thinking to myself like, but why even wear this dress? Leave it alone. These are parts of history, and like there's a reason Marilyn was Marilyn, and you're not going
She's an
to
icon. She's an
icon.
icon. Yeah. An
And
actual icon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Kim, whether you feel yourself to be an icon, that's a whole other conversation because I have that debate with a lot of my friends that I don't think there are any icons anymore. Like Drake to me is not an icon. LeBron is not an icon. Like when I was a kid, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, like some of the Beatles, Marilyn. There's so many people that were like iconosphere, like they're just blowing up. And then I look at this generation of celebrity culture, and I feel because of how fast celebrity culture changes and how fast people it's all about impressions and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't think icon status is the same thing because also, and I know people get annoyed with this. The hurdles were different. Like for Marilyn to be a global sensation in an era where there wasn't this type of technology is completely different from Kim, who has millions and millions of followers on social media based off of completely fabricated ideas of who she is. And that to
Yeah.
me, why it's such an important difference and distinction between being an icon then and being a celebrity now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to become a celebrity now
Mm,
for like the Kardashian factor, having no talent. Just, if you're famous on Instagram, you have cute selfies, can become an influencer. And
yeah,
there's people like, well, it's kind of, in a way, kind of cool that, it's not just like the everyday person can become famous now,
yeah,
which is kind of awesome. It kind of opens up a new sort of window for the average Joe to have a go,
right, yeah,
which is kind of cool. But at the same time, it also opens people up to a whole lot of just like, no, stupidity kinda.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
just yeah, I don't know, just like, it's very like a very self-involved, self-centered kind of world. Um, and, like I say, people like Marilyn and, Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson, I mean, Michael Jackson, yeah, but,
yeah.
yeah, but they were
As an
originals.
icon when he was an icon, not
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, those people were all originals of that time, and
right,
people now just aren't very original, they're just kind of copying things back from the '90s or '80s
right.
or yeah, it's hard to be something new, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely tapped into something that I said that we discussed a couple weeks ago on another episode of the show, that it's very difficult for people to, like we were saying, for example, on TikTok and stuff, those like celebrities in the past or even just stand-up comedians or something could look back at their work and be like potentially proud of one specific thing, whereas social media fandom is usually based on following trends. And
Mm.
when people are going to look back on the era of creating content in this, TikTok reels generation, will they be able to be proud of anything? Will anything feel original? And that's when it hits me often that I think about it. I'm like, man, I don't think so. And maybe they will, but I just if everyone was doing the same thing and following the same trends and trying to recreate the same dances and the same, everyone's using the same audio clip, and you got a guy on a skateboard listening to Fleetwood Mac, and that's such a beautiful moment. But then
Mhm.
100,000 people start doing the same thing, and it's just, and then as quickly as it came, it's gone. No one even talks about it. Everyone's moved on past it, and those flash in the pan moments of social media fame are so interesting. And then you see the Kardashians who kind of took that and extending the 15 minutes in a way that is just odd to me because
They monopolized on it, yeah.
yeah,
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 which
a
people are like, "Oh, that makes them so smart." They, like, built themselves up, but it's like, you gotta, like, look at where they started from. It's
mm,
easy to become richer when you're already rich. You know what I
yes,
mean? They come
yes.
from privilege, they come from a very rich household, but also their money comes from, like, their father who was a murderer's defense lawyer, which is kind of dirty money when you think about it. Some guy who killed his wife, and their dad helped get him off. So,
Yeah,
kind of not something to be proud of anyway.
yeah, yeah,
And then that's where their wealth comes from. And then, yeah, so it's easy to become a billionaire when you're already like a millionaire, you know?
right, right.
Like
When
if I had $1,000,000, sure, I'd be successful as well, but I don't.
and trying to explain that to people, it's such a weird thing because as you can imagine, the former president of the United States was another example of someone who came up, who already had a leg up and somehow convinced an entire country that he started from nothing and that he was like them. And I just remember thinking when I was just like, but didn't he get money from his family to become like, and
Yeah.
to become the president off of the idea that he's going to fight the fight for you because he's just like you. But like you said, he was already a millionaire who continued to grow his millions off of
Yeah.
potentially the hard work you're doing because he's just paying you pittance to try and prop up this idea of wealth. It's yeah,
Yeah.
it's it's and to all the billionaires, something that we keep saying, and dumbest timeline, billionaires also are hoarders. They are hoarding wealth in a way that
There's that too. Don't even get me started on the fact that they're not doing anything for the world.
right.
And that, Kylie's makeup kits are made in China with like, wasn't it kid child labor or something?
Well, they were saying, some people were saying that, some people were saying the Uyghurs. I don't know what the facts are. I just know that they definitely were saying they were made in China.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
already we know, if it's made in China, one of the reasons they're doing that is for cheaper labor. We already know that in China there's cheaper labor, there's less restrictions for job for employee protection and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
know that, like, that's a globally known and accepted fact. So we can, and and then to think that their billions, or at least just Kylie's. I don't know about the rest of them. I don't know where all their little needles are around the world for their factories. But
Yeah.
for that example, it's just like, you're a billionaire and you made those billions finally after somehow
Co-funded.
yeah, after you somehow convince people. I mean, again, you didn't really do it yourself, but through the sheer fact of being on TV and making yourself the empathetic, like, lead character in a story in which you're not a billionaire yet, you somehow convinced people you needed to be, and then you did become a billionaire. But no billionaire exists without taking advantage of people. I'm sorry to the Rihanna fans.
No, it's
Hopefully,
true. It's
even
true.
Rihanna, I know, Navy, salute, but still, if you're a billionaire, you profited in some way. There are no altruistic billionaires. They didn't get there by, they didn't make the billions and all this stuff themselves. They
Yeah.
had to take advantage of someone to hoard the wealth. Like
Yeah.
old-fashioned dragons from fantasy stories. They all sit there just hoarding it, and
True.
you're just like, and those dragons were like warnings in those stories. It's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. And
Yeah.
also, if you are a billionaire, especially like a 22-year-old billionaire or something, maybe share it. Maybe
Yeah.
do something to change the world because you can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't I mean, that whole thing of Kim becoming a lawyer now and helping people out of
Right.
jail,
Right.
I just feel like that's really a publicity stunt. I
Oh,
just feel it's not really for I don't know, she's just a bit bored, right?
I don't doubt for a second that there's a PR aspect to everything
Mm,
that's been done in that house.
100%, 100%.
You know, from the first marriage to the Chris Humphreys basketball player, where she got married and then, like, essentially got married for the TV show. Whether she was really in love or not, I'll never know. I don't know Kim Kardashian personally, but from an outsider's perspective, when you see when you see those episodes and you see the show, and things kind of fall apart really quick, and it's just like, oh, it's hard to do everything in the public eye. It's just like, well, you were choosing to do these things in the public eye.
Literally your choice.
Yeah, like, making your life difficult, and like you were saying, that weird thing of trying to create, or leaning on the idea that people will empathize with you because, and this is something that everyone knows, protagonists in stories, whether they're good or bad, will always get empathy from the readers, because that's the perspective we're seeing the story from.
Because people think they know them because 'cause they've
Right.
watched them on TV for years and they've grown up with them. But I'm here to tell you, they don't care about you. They don't know
Yeah.
you exist.
Yeah.
So why should you care about them when they are just
Right.
kind of shitty people?
And they
I
would
don't know.
have you work in their factories and make the money off of you and not blink an eye. That's the other thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They still wouldn't even know you existed even if you worked for
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You could be their personal assistant and they probably wouldn't even know your name.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, they just seem like the most vapid people to me, and it makes me, like, sad that young girls look up to them. Like, it makes me
Yeah.
really sad that those are the type of people that little girls, like, want to be like. It's like,
Yeah.
shoot higher, you know?
Yeah.
Be a Greta Thunberg instead. Be someone decent, like,
Yeah.
someone
Someone who's
natural.
someone who's trying to make the world better in some way, and
Yeah.
not necessarily just running fast fashion lines.
Yeah, someone whose mother didn't monopolize on her daughter's sex tape.
Yeah.
Like, that woman
Yeah.
exploits her daughters. She always has the whole time, she cashes in on it, and she loves it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She's a bad mother.
I I always wonder too, like, does does she like, even if the daughters say it's okay, is do they all sit around the table thinking like mom is full on taking advantage of the things we've done to prop up again this idea of fame? And I wonder, I always wonder because one of the sisters doesn't do the show as much as the others, right? The one that's
Uh,
married to Travis, the drummer?
Courtney, but she's in the Kardashians one a bit more.
Oh, is she? She's back because
Yeah,
I just remember my friends telling me that towards like the middle or one of the other ones, she had like started being in the show a lot less.
yeah.
And I remember seeing an article once talking about one of the reasons she had pulled away is because she wanted to just focus on herself and not necessarily this obsessive branding that they had to keep up. And I started to wonder, well, what like to be a fly on the wall in when they're alone, just thinking about like I'm just always this. I'm always on. I'm a Kardashian. I'll always have to be this version now because of the things we've done to get here. And not this isn't sympathy for the devil. This is me just wondering like what is that like to be that stuck and also knowing that every person out there that is following you, you have influence over and taking no opportunity to make their lives better. Like, I'm sorry, none of the Kardashian stuff, the makeup lines, the fast fashion, the entire show, the entire brand is purely for entertainment, but they also make insane amount of money off of people and th-
Of
essentially
lower class people, mostly lower
yeah,
class people.
yeah.
Yeah,
Essentially
yeah.
what they're doing, have you ever heard of The Toys That Made Us on Netflix?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
So it's that show about how every time they made a toy, they made a TV show or a cartoon so that they could sell the toy,
Yes, yeah.
and that's what the Kardashians are doing.
Yeah,
They
they then
are
make an episode TV episode if they have a new brand coming out or something like that. You know, even when Kim got mugged in Paris,
oh
that
god, yeah.
that was a big episode. That was like Kris Jenner was probably like, "Yes, content," because
Yeah.
their ratings were actually down at the time, and I even had a
Oh,
theory that it didn't actually happen and they, like, staged it to get more viewings, but that's probably another
probably.
thing. Yeah, like, anytime anything like that happens, she cashes in and she's like, "Yes, we have some content finally."
That
Someone gets
is
cheated on, "Yes, this is gonna be a good episode." You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's sad.
yeah. At some point, you start to wonder because all guys, anyone who's listening or watching this, reality TV is all produced.
Yeah,
It's even if someone takes the camera and fills every single aspect, at the end of the day, someone is editing and then putting an edited version of that content out. So you're never fully seeing the completely cinema realite version of this. You're seeing whatever someone approved before it gets out.
yeah,
So take that into consideration every time you watch any reality TV, and take that into consideration when you watch shows that are essentially just huge advertisements by one very wealthy family to try and
mm,
sell you more of their really cheap shit so that they
yeah,
continue to stay billionaires.
exactly. They don't care about you.
They don't care about you.
Yep, and plus, like, they are so boring as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Honestly, I was watching one of the new episodes and I was so, like, I had to, like, slap myself at one point and be like, "Oh my god, this
yeah,
family, they drive me nuts. They're so stupid. They're so unaware of everything
yeah,
around them. They're just so dull and lifeless." And they add that, like, happy little music over it sometimes to make a
right.
scene, like, quirky or interesting, but it's still not. Yeah, I was bored.
It's funny that you bring up the music. TV Tune Find when because I work in music, I make playlists for commercial spaces and stuff like that. So sometimes I go to TV Tune Find to see like what are the highest charting TV pop like used songs, and the
Mhm.
Kardashian like interlude musics that they use are often on the list, and those that they're using are like they tend to be from like rights included music sites and stuff. So it's not even like they're as much as they have the money, they're still paying like rights included places for those small clips, which I guess is kind of cool because it gives people the access to know even learn about that music, but at the same time, you have so much money that you could pay for like music to be produced in house or something, and you're still buying it from these like little sites. And it's like you're buying the same music that YouTubers use. It's like such an interesting thing
'Cause they make
decision
more
to
money. The less money they
right.
spend,
Right,
yeah.
right. That's the yeah, because that was my thing when I saw it. I was just like, so you guys are trying to find the cheapest music you could use to make the most profit. And I was like, but
Yeah,
you're all
that's how billionaires work.
I know, I know. It's silly of me to even why am I even questioning why they do it? It's like you know why they're doing it. So
Mm,
uh
yeah, but,
KoKo.
that said, not a fun show, pretty
Yeah.
boring, and I don't feel sorry for them.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry,
fair.
I mean, Chloe gets cheated on by her, like, partner, like, I think, like, she basically was having a baby with him, and he cheated on her with another lady and had a baby with her at the same
Yeah.
time or something, and I was just like, "I don't really care," like, that's
Yeah.
you're choosing dudes like this over and over again, like, and
Yeah.
there's this
Yeah.
whole big emotional episode about it, I'm just like, "Yeah."
And we're all supposed to
Choices.
sit there and like watch your process of forgiveness. And it's like, but you keep doing this. And then you like you're saying, it starts to feel like and again, like I was saying, it's all scripted, it all feels scripted, it's all edited.
Yeah,
There's probably scenes where she's not crying. There's probably scenes where she's just like, "I'm over this dude," and someone else walks into the room and tries to convince her, "No, but give him a chance." And then they edit back when she's now thinking about giving him a chance so that she
yeah,
looks like she's crazy, even though there's probably wild amount of people gaslighting her in her life just for the
yeah.
purposes of profit.
Oh, the
Which is
amount of sort of mental abuse that they probably, like, endure every day
yeah.
unbeknownst to them, like, the
Yes,
amount of
right.
damage that's been done to them, so much that they probably aren't even real people anymore, you know?
Right.
They don't even know how to be someone without a camera around them or
Yeah.
this persona, you know? I just don't think they would have any time to be real anymore.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
KoKo.
Chloe also is looking really unwell, very, very skinny, and her sisters are all like, "We're concerned," but then they're like, "But you look great."
Yes, right? That's yes.
Yeah,
That is the wildest part. I would talk about them forever, but I also don't necessarily wanna talk about them forever. But just the
fair,
idea
me
of
either.
celebrity is such a crazy thing. But I wanna thank you so much. This is such a great conversation. Ever since I've started doing this show, I genuinely try and think of, like, what are some of the things that really like, because I really do believe we live in the dumbest timeline. I don't think that it's I don't think it's the darkest. Like it could be the darkest in some respects, but when I think about a lot of the decisions we make as a society, it has more to do with just really bad decision making and stupidity than it has to do with us outright being evil monsters of people. And
Yeah,
I feel like worshiping a bunch of people who have had massive plastic surgery, who potentially are manipulated, but are also manipulating and are just cogs in a weirdly broken machine, but are also multi-billionaires that I can't feel any empathy for because I know you've made your money off the back of someone else. That is an example of a dumbest timeline, if ever
yes,
I've seen.
well said, Brian. Yeah,
Thank you. KoKo, thank you
times are
so much.
stupid.
Yeah. Where can people check out your stuff if they wanna follow you, social media? I follow you on socials. I love your posts. I know you
Ah,
love movies, and I see a lot of great movie stuff that you post. Sometimes
I
I even
do.
go back and watch films, so you have make great recommendations. So
Oh,
where
really?
yeah.
That that makes me very happy. That's awesome.
Where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Coco Puff with 5 Fs. Um, and I also have, the kids band I'm in, the Regurgitators Pogo Go Show on Instagram,
Yes.
and I have my electronic music, which is KO. That's pretty much it. Other than
Awesome.
that, I just hang out in my house.
Awesome. I look forward to more stuff from you. I love talking with you, and I hopefully will get back to Australia one day. Fingers crossed. It's been
Please
so long.
do, please
I know.
do.
2009, I think, when I got to go and met you, which I
It's like a
feel is
lifetime ago.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, it's so crazy when I think about it. Thank you so much for being on the show this week. Once again, as I always say, folks, not the darkest timeline, just happens to be the dumbest one. This is another edition of the dumbest timeline. See, it almost got to me this week. But it's the dumbest timeline. Peace, everybody. Take care.
Thanks for having me.